Hello dear students, welcome back to the Analyst for 9th January 2025, where we will be discussing 7 most important articles from the Hindu and the Indian Express. As usual, in the first section of analysis, we'll be taking up an in-depth discussion on the recent topic of river interlinking in the country pertaining to the Ken-Betwa interlinking project and the broader environmental implications regarding this. In the second section, we'll be talking about the appointment of the election commissioners of our Election Commission of India and the various issues highlighted within this debate. In the next part, we will be talking about 5 more simplified articles which are highly crucial for the upcoming Prelims 2025 examination. So stay tuned. Hello students, I hope you all are doing well, and with this I am going to start the very first article today, where this is talking about the recent river interlinking project in the country, which pertains to the linking of 2 rivers, that is Ken and Betwa rivers. And let me tell you, these are not only the 2 rivers which we have in mind for interlinking purposes, we have several others also which I will be showing you on a map. Now, why we are discussing this? Because firstly, there is an editorial in the newspaper, and as you all know, UPSC aspirant is to be very well conversant in reading the editorials. That is the first point. Second, this article is an excellent point or excellent example of how we can cite some examples in our answers and also study the same when it comes to the need for balancing our ecology with our economic growth, right? So this is actually a section of sustainable development, because we not only need to have economic growth, such as in this case greater amount of agriculture productivity, higher amount of water that is available to the villagers for drinking purposes and various other purposes, while that needs to be done. On the other hand, we also have several ecological consequences which are generally negative in character, as also highlighted by the author here. So in this one, we'll be discussing what are the various issues, and also I need to highlight that this is an important article for prelims purposes when it comes to the environmental ecological implications of this project. Also in GS3, where we have conservation, environmental pollution and degradation, and most importantly, environment impact assessment, which you all know, that is a term we actually use when we need to develop a certain infrastructural project or any other project, and we need to do the cost and benefit analysis of the same on our environment. So let us start here with the very background of it, firstly with the first details of this project. So here we have the Ken River, as you all can see in the map. Here we have mainly the basin of this river flowing across Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh when we talk about this project here. So we have the Ken River. Alongside the Ken River, we can see here we have a major important tiger reserve, that is the Panna Tiger Reserve. Now on the other side we have the Betwa River also. So the main grand ambition is to link this river with the Betwa River. Now why do we need to address this concern? Because in this entire area, and specifically in this area, we see an very huge instance of water scarcity, and it is impacting not only the farmers in the region but also various sections of the populations. So that is why it has not been a recent initiative. It was thought for many decades earlier that we need to do a certain amount of irrigation project, maybe a canal that can bring water to this region, and nothing better than using the resources of the 2 rivers, because we find that we can link the Ken River here and the Betwa River here, and we can have a 218-kilometer long main canal that will be transferring the waters from the Ken to the Betwa. So we can actually understand here that maybe the Ken River is located at a much more highland region than the Betwa River. That is why the water will be flowing in this manner. And also we can understand that there is a surplus water of around 1,000 million cubic meters. So that is what we have to understand here. Now when we talk about the river interlinking project, do we only mean that we will be constructing a canal and be done with that? No. We firstly will be constructing a canal. Secondly, we will be constructing a dam to regulate the flow of the transfer of water from Ken to Betwa. That is a very important thing. And Second, thirdly, we also need to construct a reservoir of, for this dam to store the surplus water, especially in times of excessive rainfall, right, or say deficient rainfall, where we need to manage the flow of the dam. So that is also what we need to understand in this context, correct? Mainly the height of the dam will be 77 meters, right, and the capacity will be around 3000 million cubic meters here. And this particular project, when we talk about the various benefits, as we have seen already, that it will be producing or say supplying around 49 million cubic meters of potable drinking water that will be benefiting around 1.4 million people in both of the states, right? Next, also when we talk about the irrigation water, both Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh will be receiving equal share of increased amount of water available for agriculture, which will be extremely important for the agricultural fields dependent on a rain-fed agriculture in this region. In this area, generally we see deficient rainfall. So if we can supply the same using this canal, it will be a boon for the farmers. But we have to understand that this entire project will be submerging a lot of, say, area of the land here, and that leads also to our thought that maybe in the future large area of the forested areas near Panna and also the Panna tiger reserves will be submerged. So this is what we understand by cost and benefit analysis. These are all the benefits that we have discussed. This is the cost, one of the costs that we have seen just now. We'll be also discussing some of the other costs here. But firstly, let me tell you some of the brief background of river interlinking projects, or say the idea of the project. In India, this particular concept was developed 130 years ago by Sir Arthur Cotton, which was later developed and much more conceptualized by Sir M. Vishveshvarya. In the comment section, can you let me know why Sir M. Vishveshvarya is very prominently known for? And also let me tell you, in mains 2020, we were also asked on the various contributions of Sir M. Vishveshvarya. You let me know also the contributions, 2-3 contributions that you know. Let me tell one of them, that is developing the agricultural scenario of the country. He led to the constructions, designs and implementation of major irrigation projects in the country. Now, after that, we have other prominent names which we need for prelims examination, which we can also quote in our mains examinations, such as K.L. Rao and Captain Dinshaw G. Dastur, who also further popularized this concept. After this, we saw that in 1970s and 80s, correct, we had this national water grid. Now this concept of river interlinking project came to the domain of the central government. Central government started planning via the 1982 National Water Development Agency, where the central government thought of interlinking the 14 Himalayan rivers and 16 peninsular rivers, which the benefits, as we have seen, will be leading to greater amount of water resources, drinking water, and also irrigation water for the people. As we can see here, this is the map where it is showing the proposed inter-basin water transfer link. Let me tell you, as of now, not even one of the projects are on the ground as of now, because all of them are in the concept stage still, right? So this we can see, we have around 16 peninsular rivers, and where we will be having these various linkages, right, and the various Himalayan rivers too, correct? So this is where we have to keep in mind some of the positives here, correct? Firstly, the total estimated cost will be around 5.5 lakh crores, which is a huge amount. Maybe this is one of the reasons why the proposed projects are not yet completed, right? Now, some of the first positive that we have to discuss is that firstly, it will be alleviating various floods and droughts, because we have the dam that will be constructed to contain the excess water, or say deficient water. During floods, we can contain the excess water. During droughts, we can actually release the excess water to our agricultural fields, to our villages, to our cities in this region. It will be also addressing the perennial water stress in the Bundelkhand region, right? So this is why the rural incomes will be boosted, because we will be having greater amount of agricultural productivity. And also we know the plight of women in this region is that they have to go and walk miles and miles to nearby tube wells or to nearby water sources to carry water. It can also lead to better amount of women empowerment in the region, that will be reducing the burden of, say, women for the upkeep of water in their households. And broader say aspect is that it will be leading to greater amount of rural development. Now when we talk about the concerns, these are some of the most important concerns here. That firstly, interlinking of river is expensive. If we can look at the total cost, it is the one entire project, that is a Ken and Betwa river interlinking project, is costing 45,000 crore, which is an insane amount, right? Now it will be affecting the land, forest and the biodiversity of the region. We know that this region is home to tigers, vultures, gharials. Now can you let me know some of the, say, IUCN status of gharial and tigers in the comments below? So these are the species, let me tell you, are extremely vulnerable to habitat loss. Habitat loss is occurring in this region. How? Because we are interlinking the rivers, and it will be leading to submersion of land. So habitat loss is definite, and that is what we also are expecting, that if this project goes forward, almost half of that Panna Tiger Reserve, or maybe even more region, which is not even known to us according to data properly, that it will be submerged, right? So it will be affecting rivers and livelihoods of the people also. There are tribal sections of the populations living there, right? And also this will be destroying the forests and the various wetlands, correct, which is actually, the wetlands are very important for carbon sequestration. And if we try to inundate the wetlands using this river linking project, it will be leading to higher amount of CO2 emissions in the future, which will be negating the effect of our India's efforts for our climate, to fight climate change. It will be also displacing so many people, and let alone the displacement issue, we do not have also proper amount of compensation for these peoples. So that is why we have to keep in mind the negative consequences. Apart from this, the broader impact of this project is that this excess amount of water, right, that will be floating or say flowing in this region via this canal, will be reducing the final flow of the waters that will be flowing into the ocean. And this can also lead to unintended and also uncalculated threat to marine life. So this is where we need to keep these things in mind. Also in the comment section, can you let me know in which ocean finally the Ken and Betwa river will be flowing into, I mean directly or indirectly? You let me know, right? Now in this particular issue, let me also highlight some key studies which are important to be quoted in your answers. The global lessons on river channelization will be giving us two examples. Firstly, we have this Kissimmee River in Florida, where the US government tried to link the project, but the channelization led to wetland destruction, and later the US government again spent extra amount of dollars to restore those wetlands. So already we are spending money, we have to spend more money on ecological restoration, right? Also, if you can look at this particular picture, right, here we have the Aral Sea, right? During the Soviet Union times, correct, mismanagement of the rivers of the Soviet, right, led to overall shrinking of the Aral Sea over a period of time. This is the present day, June 2013 Aral Sea. This was September 1977 Aral Sea. As you can see, right, due to the various rivers which were flowing, right, into this Aral Sea, due to the various projects constructed on those rivers, dams and various other projects done by the Soviet government back then, it led to the overall reduction of the water flow to this particular Aral Sea. So this is an unintended consequence, as we can understand, and has a greater ecological impact. So this is what our author is also highlighting, also our various ecological experts are highlighting over a period of time. So there must be a way forward in this matter. Firstly, let us look at an IIT Bombay study. Please do note these kind of studies because it will be helping to enhance the value of your answers. IIT Bombay told us about a very important effect when we try to transform our land. That means we can transfer our land to agriculture purpose. In this particular aspect, we are transforming our land into, say, a canal which will be linking the two rivers. But land has also connection with our atmosphere. Anything that we do on the land, has a feedback effect. Now, in this particular aspect, according to this study, it will be reducing the September rainfall in this Bundelkhand region up to 12%. So maybe later, even after linking the projects, the river flows will be reducing due to deficient rainfall by 12%. Right? So we have to keep doing these studies. We need to have more studies because this is actually one of those rare studies which is focusing on this region. So we need to have more amount of studies, research about this particular project and also about all those other proposed projects too. Then we can learn from Israel's best water management practice, that Israel is not thinking about interlinking rivers and whatsoever. We already know Israel is a very small country, marred by several conflicts, but still it has vibrant amount of startup ecosystem. It has a vibrant agricultural economy, from where we also emulated their drone economy, that is their drone agriculture in our own country. Alongside that, we can also adopt their strategies regarding the drip irrigation, which saves around 25% to 75% water using drip irrigation, because we know if we apply drip irrigation to various plants, right, we know that this particular drip irrigation will be using droplets of water around the roots of the plant, which will be reducing the overall requirement of water, and using various, say, machines technology such as AI, IoT, or say even simple technologies such as simple say machines, we can regulate the flow of the water to exactly drip that amount of water that is required for the plant in a particular day. That can lead to water savings. So instead, we can spend this entire money on the drip irrigation also, right? In installing drip irrigation facilities on the farmers' fields. Next, we need to also have a comprehensive environmental impact assessment, which was not done, properly along with various consultation projects and so on. So it was alleged by various environmental activists that the environmental nod was given by the Minister of Environment at a very short period of time, right? So the total amount of, say, water submerged in this tiger reserve, or say the displacement of the people, were not thought of according to the climate activists, right? So we need to have a better amount of environment impact assessment. Also, we must be protecting the Panna Tiger Reserve. Mainly, we have some of the sections of this project also lying within the core region of the Tiger Reserve, right? So that must be taken care of, along with protecting the various flora and fauna of the region, such as gharials, such as tigers, such as vultures, and the various other animal community there. So also we need to address the displacement issue, that we have around, say, 1600 families who will be displaced. So we have some sections of the population, as tribal sections, who depend on the forest for their livelihood. So we need to address that issue. Also, we need to ensure adequate compensation, which according to local community allegations were not enough according to the displacement. Also, in this regard, the Supreme Court Central Empowered Committee highlighted various concerns regarding the passing of this project. So Supreme Court also, in the future cases, if at all they will be going to the judiciary, needs to take attention of this particular matter. So in this respect, I have a PYQ for all of you, that is, which of the following have or has shrunk immensely or dried up in the recent past due to human activities? We just discussed this. You let me the answer in the comments below. Apart from this, for your broader mains practice, I have a question for you all, that Kane and Bedpa project reflects a broader debate on balancing development needs with environmental sustainability, which was what I said in the very beginning. So you let me know some of your points in the comments. For introduction purposes, we can use some of the objectives of this mission here. Moving on to the next one. Herein, we have the topic of appointment of the election commissioners. Now, this is a debate which is always in the news, because right now the Supreme Court has said that it may take up more pleas or more petitions challenging the validity of the 2013 law on February 4, 2025. So in the future date, Supreme Court will be looking into more matters pertaining to various challenges of the 2023 law that pertain to the appointment of the election commissioners in the country, right? Pertaining obviously to the Election Commission of India. India, right? Now here we have to understand that this particular topic is extremely important when it comes to the appointment of our various constitutional posts, our bodies. And let me tell you, the CEC is actually known, or say the election commissioners are actually known broadly as the watchdogs of democracy, because they run the Election Commission of India, who are responsible for the superintendence, conduction of smooth, free and fair elections in the country. Now here, the background of appointments of various election commissioners and Chief Election Commission is actually very checkered. So let us start with the very story of it. Now from 1949 to 1989, that is around 40 years, the Election Commission of India had one Chief Election Commissioner, right? So this is clear. On October 1989, the Election Commission of India became a multi-member body, but in 1990 this particular action was rescinded, and in 1991 the conditions of service of CEC and ECs were formulated. That is, it pertained to what would be the conditions of the salary would be. For example, one of the conditions is that the conditions of service of the CEC and EC would be equivalent to the Supreme Court judge, right? So this is what it pertained to. But in this particular act, and also preceding everything here, we did not have any law that is pertaining to the appointment of the election commissioners in the country. And here, when we talk about the appointment particular here, so firstly, there is a particular convention which is going on. That is, there is no parliamentary law in this matter. So that is why it is left to the discretion of the president according to Article 324. But therein, in the Article 324, as I will be showing you, a particular law must be there for the appointment of the same. But here, due to this convention aspect, it was left to the discretion of the president, where generally what happened is that the law ministry will be recommending a panel of names of those people who are eligible to be, or say who will be appointed to be election commissioners, correct? So here these names were presented to the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister would be recommending or forwarding one of the names or two of the names to be appointed as the EC, right, of the Election Commission of India. Now here, what is the aspect of, say, Chief Election Commissioner, who will be becoming the Chief Election Commissioner? So from the election commissioners, the senior most say election commissioner will be becoming the Chief Election Commissioner. This was what the convention earlier. But according to various challenges in the Supreme Court, the various petitioners argued that in Article 324, and also according to the founding fathers of our constitution, that was according to the Constitutional Assembly debates, we understand that the parliament must be having a law that is made for the appointment of the Chief Election Commissioner and such numbers of other election commissioners. This is what according to Article 324 subclause 2 says, that obviously the appointment will be made by the President of India, that is fine, but the parliament must be having a law for this matter. So as we have seen, according to this, we did not have any law till now. So in this Anup Baranwal versus Union of India 2003 case, here a 5-member constitutional bench was set up. In the comment section, you let me know what is the maximum number of judges that can be present in the constitutional bench and what is the minimum number of judges. So according to this particular case, an interim arrangement was proposed by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court told that if center is not having a particular law which is a requirement of Article 324 subclause 2, then maybe Supreme Court or I have to come up with an interim arrangement till the day that the parliament is coming up with a particular law, right? So that is what Supreme Court told, that okay, according to various other countries provisions of election commissioners, election commission of other countries, so I have studied some of them, and let me propose an interim arrangement. That is, there must be a 3-member committee, and the committee will be composed of Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition of the Lok Sabha, and the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, right? The Chief Justice of India will be there. So this will be ensuring that there should not be any executive access in the appointment of the election commissioners, right? So this will be ensuring there will be inclusivity in the selection of both the CEC and the ECs, and this will be also ensuring that the watchdog of our democracy is fair and impartial because of the presence of Chief Justice of India and the presence of Leader of Opposition of Lok Sabha, which will be countering any say adverse decision of the discretion of the prime minister, right? So this is what we understood was the interim arrangement, but the central government wouldn't agree to this. Central government told that, okay, if we were not having any law, let me come up with a law. The law is the Election Commissioner's Appointment, Conditions of Service and Terms of Office Act of 2023. Now this act is pertaining to the appointment, salary and removal of the ECs and the CEC. Now, according to this act, there would be a search committee, which would be headed by the cabinet secretary. Please note this point. Why? Because we have to understand, for the appointment of someone who was earlier having the status of a Supreme Court judge, who is actually much more higher in say rank of precedence, above the cabinet secretary. So the cabinet secretary will now be searching various candidates based on their integrity, knowledge and experience and management of conduct of elections in the country, and post equivalent to secretary to central government. So based on these three criteria, the search committee will be recommending some names that will be forwarded to the selection committee. So here there are first two things. Firstly, the cabinet secretary who was actually earlier, we have to understand, according to the conditions of service of the ECs, is lower in rank than the Supreme Court judge. Secondly, also this particular thing says that the candidates must be having the qualification of a secretary to the central government. That means that maybe in the future ECs or CEC will only be consisting bureaucrats. Correct? So we can have several other persons also, because we have to understand the Election Commission of India must be a dynamic body. So it is also understandable that only bureaucrats is maybe say one of the conditions that is hinted here. Next, when the names goes to a selection committee, the selection committee will be consist of the Prime Minister, Union Cabinet Minister and the leader of opposition. So this ensures that there will be a selection committee to select the names, right? But here can you see that there are two members here who will be majority when it comes to appointment of the same. So there can be an issue of threat of say a non-neutrality here, or say unfairness in the selection process. Also, a major provision which was impacted, the salary and conditions of service is now equivalent to the cabinet secretary rank, not the Supreme Court judge rank, which was earlier in the 1991 Act, right? So the rank, or say the significance of the post of CEC and EC is diminished right now. Also, the term of the same would be 6 years or 65 years, which is earlier, and there will be no reappointment, which kind of stays the same as before. Also, the removal with reference to the CEC will be actually the process which is followed with reference to removal of the Supreme Court judge, and the election commissioner's removal will be with reference to the chief election commissioner's recommendation. So they will be finally removed by the president based on this manner. Now, what are the issues here? Firstly, the legislative power versus the judicial authority with reference to section 7 subclause 1 of this particular 2023 Act. Now we have to understand that there was an Anup Baranwal case which was existing earlier. So does the parliament has the authority to override a constitutional bench, that is 5-member constitutional bench judgment with ordinary legislation? Because we have to understand that to affect these changes, you need a constitutional amendment. But this is what we have to understand the Supreme Court recently also told. Also, according to various, say, sections of the society, right, an umpire cannot be subordinate to the team captain. If you see, there is a captain, Indian cricket captain, and the captain is setting all the rules in the game. Now, even the umpire is following the particular person. So this is what happens if we bring this particular amendment, or say this particular amendment in the appointment structure, according to various experts, that the umpire cannot be subordinate to the team captain, that the Election Commission of India cannot be subordinate to the central government when it comes to appointments. There must be some other members also, such as CJI, such as leader of opposition, such as various other members also, maybe, right? So this is what is also stated by the Association for Democratic Reforms, as this is compromising the fierce independence that is required for the ECI to function properly. And also this is enabling the executive to control appointments arbitrarily. And also we have to understand there is a provision in this amendment, or 2023 Act, that the recommendations of the Prime Minister and Union Cabinet Minister can be sent forward, or that particular candidate can be elected even if the leader of opposition is not present in that meeting. So even in cases of vacancy, the appointment will be going forward, the recommendations will be going forward. But here we must be understanding, we must be having a consensus based approach, such as the approach we follow at the WTO. That means all of the members must be agreeing for a particular candidate to be going forward, rather than just using this vacancy position, correct? And also we have to understand the CEC and EC salary is actually equivalent to the cabinet secretary right now. So there is a loss of value, the loss of dignity in the post of the ECs and the CEC right now. Also, when we talk about the CEC and EC's removal, there's a lack of parity in the removal. CEC is having a greater security of tenure, because the person can be only be removed like the case of a Supreme Court judge. But here the other ECs can be just be removed on a recommendation of the CEC, right? Also, the posts are now limited to senior bureaucrats who are having the post of secretary to the central government. So maybe diverse other viewpoints will not be accepted here. Finally, there's a lack of independent secretariat, which should be also a part of this 2023 particular act, which was earlier also recommended by Dinesh Goswami committee, where this particular independent secretariat is similar to the independent secretariat that the High Court and the Supreme Court have. That here, this secretariat will be looking into the overall administrative functions here. So these administrative functions are served by the central government, so leading to lesser amount of independence. So these are all the issues we have to keep in mind, and from these issues only the solutions must be your way forward, right? So here, let me give you some other way forwards also. Firstly, there were various committees which were looking into the composition of the selection committee. Earlier it was a law ministry. Right now it is a selection committee headed by the cabinet secretary. So there were various other committees who recommended that there must be a particular structure of this. Firstly, Goswami committee recommended for the CEC and the EC, the process must be different, right? So firstly, this is a very significant thing, because the CEC is the head, the ECs are the various other members. So there must be separate process for this. So this committee said that the president must be having consultation with the chief justice, the leader of opposition of Lok Sabha, right, or the leader of the largest party in Lok Sabha. For the ECs, we can have the president to be consulting with chief justice, leader of opposition of Lok Sabha, plus the CEC also. So this is where we have to keep in mind, right? Next, also we have to understand that the Constitution 70th Amendment, right, it also recommended that, it was actually a bill which recommended that the chairman of Rajya Sabha should be there, speaker of Lok Sabha should be there, leader of opposition should be there of the Lok Sabha, and also CEC was further made a part of the consultative process in the appointment of the ECs. So it is following the Dinesh Goswami committee recommendations almost, except the inclusion of the Rajya Sabha chairman. Also the NCRWC, right, is also having the recommendation of including the Prime Minister, leader of opposition of the Lok Sabha, leader of opposition in the Rajya Sabha, leader of the speaker of Lok Sabha, and the deputy chairperson of the Rajya Sabha. Also, the Law Commission and the Supreme Court later have had their own recommendations. So we can actually quote these in our main answers. Apart from this, we also need to know what is the process abroad. That is, what is South Africa, UK, US, Canada doing in this particular regard. When it comes to South Africa, president appoints the EC or CEC there. Now here, the President of the Constitutional Court and the representative of the Human Rights Court, representative of the Commission on Gender Equality and Public Prosecutor will be present when it comes to this particular selection committee to appoint the CEC and EC in their country. When it comes to the UK, it will be actually the monarch, the king or queen in their particular country, but that will be obviously a very ornamental thing, because finally it will be approved by the houses. So particular house will be here, the Speaker's Committee on Electoral Commission with MPs as member must be there, who will be recruiting the electoral commissioners, right? Also, the candidates of the post are then approved by the House of Commons and then appointed by the British monarch, right? And there, the speaker also asks the leader of the house to table a motion for an address to appoint the recommended candidate. So it is much more inclusive, as you can see here. Similar is the case in US, where the commission, commission is appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate also later. In Canada, they are appointed by resolution of the House of Commons. So it is much more inclusive in those particular countries, we can also follow their approach too. So that is why for practice basis you can practice this mains question, and also when you talk about using some good words and good phrases, please do note some Supreme Court observations on the various appointments petitions, petition related to appointments of the CEC and EC. So there we have some good catchphrases that you all can use in your introduction, conclusions, or in the body part. For example, say, the right to vote is not just a statutory right but a constitutional right, or say the ballot is much more potent than the most powerful gun. So using this you can actually substantiate the argument of your points. So now we have completed this, we'll be moving on to the simplified section, which will be important for your prelims pointers. Now in this article we will be looking about the right to food and the struggle or the issues that India is having with the PDS. And here let me tell you, in the very beginning I will be showing you a case study here, which is the case study mentioned in the editorial also, which will be important for your mains answers. Even this particular article can be important for your ethics answers because you can quote this example. Also you can even start an essay with the example of this particular aspect. So articles like this, editorials are like this, which show a particular story of a community and the issues that they're facing, are important for your exam to be quoted somewhere. So for prelims this is important for economic and social development. For GST it is important for PDS system, objectives, functionings, limitations, which will be focusing more in this article, right? So firstly let me just briefly introduce you with reference to the public distribution system. See, whenever we have to understand when we talk about the PDS, so the main objective is to have food security for all, that is availability of essential food communities at very low prices for the vulnerable sections of the populations, right? So that is the main objective here. Apart from that, we also understand the economy time and again faces inflation, and inflation rises the prices of say essential commodities. So to protect the vulnerable sections, again we need to have a fixed amount of price of food items that maybe the vulnerable sections of the population can directly approach or say buy from the government authorities. So that is one more. Finally, also when we talk about a PDS system, which is a comprehensive legal system in the country, so it is also trying to prevent black marketing, hoarding of the rice grains. So these are the broader objectives here. When we talk about the PDS system in the country, we have say this Antodaya Anna Yojana 2000, which focused on upliftment or say the provision of food for the poorest of the poorest sections of the population, focusing on the below poverty line sections. In 2013, the National Food Security Act was enacted, where it targeted 75% of our rural India, right, and it targeted 50% of our urban India, and total it targets around 82 crore Indians. But we have to understand this is the late data which is pertaining to 2011 census, this 82 crore, and maybe in the subsequent years the food insecure populations have increased. So that is also we have to understand is one of the issues that we need to conduct the census as soon as possible. Now, we have to highlight the roles of the central and the state governments here. The central government is responsible for the procurement of the various food grains that will be given under the PDS. So the central government will be procuring from the farmers at MSP, and they will be storing the food grains with Food Corporation of India, where the Food Corporation of India will be distributing the same to the state governments via transportation, storage, and so on. Now, the state governments have their own responsibilities. The state governments will be purchasing the particular cereals, grains from the central government at a price known as central issue price. Now, after this, the state governments also will be identifying the various beneficiaries who will be getting this particular benefits of the PDS, right? So the main identification responsibility lies with the state government, and also the state government is encouraged to promote women empowerment, to identify the beneficiaries in such a way that the head of the household will be the eldest woman above 18 years. So the head of the household, for the purposes of PDS, to be issued a ration card will be in this manner to promote women upliftment, and this is a very innovative approach, right? And also when we talk about the ration cards will be issued by the state government according to their own beneficiary identification. And also we have to understand the supervision of the fair price shops also come under the supervision of the state government. when we talk about the coverage of this particular aspect, the coverage entails the, pregnant lactating mothers, right, and also the children up to 6 years, where they will be given food under this particular scheme, under this particular act, under ICDS, Integrated Child Development Scheme. Also, the children belonging between the age bracket of 6 to 14 years will be given midday meal, which is also provision of this act, let me tell you. After this, we also have Section 4 of this National Food Security Act, which is giving rupees 6,000 to pregnant and lactating mothers under Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana. Apart from this, during the COVID pandemic, we had the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, which were the incremental amount of food grains that were distributed by the government for the pandemic purposes. Now here we have to understand that wheat, rice and sugar is generally issued under two categories, that is Antyodaya Ann Yojana and priority households. So these are the households who receive 25 kilos plus 10 kilos plus 1 kilos of food grains. So these are actually households which are belonging to the poorest of our population. Apart from this, we have the priority household category who are getting 4 plus 1 kilos of this particular aspect. Now here, when we talk about the main issues here, we have to take the example of the Mahar community. So they suffered a lot during the COVID pandemic in Bihar, and they are actually one of the most extremely marginalized communities of the Bihar state, right? We have to understand that many Musahar community households in Patna do not even have an active ration card. Even if they are having that, they do not have some of the names of their family members because there are various issues. Firstly, we have to understand that right now we have some biometric authentication of the beneficiaries at the ration shops. So people who are having some issues from this community with reference to those fair price shops in biometric authentication, so their names are struck off the PDS rules. Apart from this, we have to understand that there is immense amount of corruption which is taking place, that the fair price dealers have been releasing only 4 kilograms of rice or grain, right, with reference to a BPL household, correct? And also we have to understand that the rice also which is supplied is of the lowest quality Usna rice. So whatever the rice that is guaranteed, that is the rice is given much more lower quality than that. Also, when we talk about the enrollment and the documentation for the fair price shop, the people due to the promotion of e-governance, digitization, are given some relaxations when it comes to say Aadhaar authentication. If that Aadhaar authentication first option is not taken by the people, they can go for a second option, that if they do not have this particular thing, they can actually serve their say caste certificate, income certificate, residence certificate. So if people are choosing the Aadhaar option, they need not give the second documents, but officials are harassing them for the rest of the documents too. And this is not the case which is exclusive to Bihar. This is also taking place in Jharkhand and Odisha, where this excessive amount of paperwork is ruining the lives of the people. But we have to understand this is going against the spirit of e-governance and good governance of our country. So this is where we have to understand the documentation basis, that is the requirement of the document. They do not even have any legal basis under the National Food Security Act, not the PDS control order of 2015, right? And also in this article, according to the author, right, an officer from the Food and Consumer Protection Department in Bihar has also confirmed that you do not need any extra documents here. And also we have to understand some of the other thing is that the people of the Mahar community, since they are so extremely backward, they do not even have a knowledge to interact with various online processes, and this has created a network or nexus of middlemen, right? They extract to the tune of 3,000 rupees to get their names enrolled on the PDS scheme or say the ration shops, right? So this is where we have to understand that these are the various challenges that the people are facing, correct? While the 2015 order states that the ration card should be issued within 30 days, but there are many instances where it has been taking 4 to 18 months. So that is why the right to food, which was recognized in People's Union of Civil Liberties versus Union of India, is not being upheld in this particular case. So that is why we have to do something. Firstly, we must be having end-to-end digitization in this particular aspect. proper amount of awareness to be spread between the communities. We must be doing field level scrutiny as to if the benefits have trickled down to the lowest levels of the populations or not. If these things are not working properly, maybe we can have this system changed to migrate to a cash transfer mechanism, where we can give cash transfer to actually have, or say, give much more choices for consumers to buy their own food grains, right? Also, we must be focusing on South and Northeast India, where the implementation is less, especially also in this particular states. According to the Wadhwa committee recommendation, we can reduce the overall coverage to 40% of the population to focus more specifically only on the food insecure people, because there are many examples of well-off populations siphoning of the PDS allocations. Also, we can raise the supply to 7 kilo per person when it comes to the priority households too. So these are the things that we can do, and you let me know in the comment section what is the answer to this 2018 PYQs. With this, we'll be moving on to the next one. Now, this is an article which is focusing on the UAPA Act and a particular case which we need not go into various details. So here we are going to discuss about the UAPA and its provisions, which are the details which we need for prelims examinations, and some of the issues which we need for our mains. So for prelims, it is important for polity and governance. For GS2, we have to look into statutory, regulatory and quasi-judicial bodies. So firstly, when we talk about the UAPA, we are going to look into the provisions. Nothing conceptual here, just follow on. So firstly, this Unlawful Activities Prevention Act of 1967 is enacted to have reasonable restrictions according to Article 19 subclause 1, which actually tells that we cannot have absolute freedom of speech and expression, because there can be some terrorist activities, there can be some incitement of, say, emotions against India. So that is why any unlawful activity has been defined as acts, words spoken or written by signs, visible representation, those kind of things which promote secession or cessation with reference to India, that is, dividing India and spreading anti-Indian sentiment. And also these also include those activities, actions which incite any individual or a group of individuals to revolt or go against or pick up arms against India. And also this is mainly disrupting the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of the country, and is mainly causing or intending to cause disaffection against India. So obviously it is actually our fundamental duty to actually uphold our constitution, our flag, our country's emotions, correct? So that is why the government of India actually enacted Terrorist and Disruptive Activities Prevention Act and also the Prevention of Terrorism Act in the 90s. But there were various legal issues regarding this act. That is why we have these particular provisions under the UAPA. That is, the UAPA will be punishing the commission, funding and support of unlawful activities and terrorist act. So some definitions are there to include this particular aspect, right? And rules for designating an organization as terrorist organization, which can have a ban for around for 5 years, and also a person as unlawful or a particular association or terrorist. So this was an amendment which was done in 2019. Earlier this was not the provision, correct? So a person also can be designated as a terrorist right now, apart from the organization. This act is extending to India, and also any UAPA related crime that is spreading anti-India sentiment will be valid across the world, even outside the country. Even people who are in the government service, on ships, or say people on the ships, not only Indians, but peoples on the ships and aircraft registered in India, they will be liable for any UAP related crimes if they are caught. Also, the tribunal in this matter will be set up by the central government, where there will be one high court judge to decide on the cases. The timelines is that the remand order must be within 30 days. Usually it is 15 days. So you can understand the severity of the charges here. So here the police can actually take more time to investigate the cases here. Also, the judicial custody before filing charge sheet by the police can take 180 days, that is double the 90 days that usually is taken. Also, the bail conditions are very stringent, that it is upon the satisfaction of the judge that to be sure that person is innocent. That is, the onus is on the accused to prove that you are innocent, right? And this is actually a very stringent provision. In the comment section, can you let me know where else, in which other act do you see the same provision regarding the stringent bail, right? Also, when we talk about the approval of property seizure by any investigative officer, this should be coming with reference to prior approval of the Director General of Police. With reference to NIA officials, this must be coming from the Director General of NIA. Now, NIA was actually created in the aftermath of 2008 terrorist attacks in 26/11 case of Mumbai, where it was modeled on the FBI of the US, which is quite famous, correct? And over a period of time, NIA has evolved to become the prime agency for persecuting crimes under this particular act. The investigation of the cases will be not below the rank of deputy superintendent or assistant commissioner of police, right? And also, when we talk about the various global treaties which are incorporated as a part of this act, we have the suppression of terrorist bombings, convention against taking of hostages, International Convention of Suppression of Acts of Nuclear Terrorism. So in this particular, the author is alleging that in usual criminal law proceedings, the particular person or say accused individual is generally treated as innocent until proven guilty. But in this particular matter, the person is not treated like this. You have to prove your innocence in this particular aspect. So till you are facing, till you are actually proving that on the face of it, on the matters of this particular case, you are innocent, you won't be given any bail. And also in the Supreme Court judgment, which is reference to the Watali case of 2019, the Supreme Court also worsened the situation, according to the author here, that Supreme Court forbade the lower courts from scrutinizing even the police case, correct? And also we have to understand that this 6 months of judicial custody is very torturous for this kind of people, right, who are convicted. Maybe sometimes a very innocent person can be convicted here, and that person can be placed in judicial custody, sometimes even for political reasons, for even reasons related to communal matters. According to various, say, experts in various print media and online media, they say even communal tendencies can be adjusted here. So that is where you have to understand that in India, a UAPA trial takes years, often more than 10 years. Also denial of bail, that is the person is spending this decade behind the bars, and the conviction rate is abysmally low. If we talk about 2016 to 19, the conviction rate is only 2.2%. That is, out of 100 people, only around 2 people are convicted finally. So this is what we also understand, wastage of state's resources too. So that is why the author argues for striking down the stringent bail provisions. Apart from this, we can also specify definitions, because definitions under UAP are extremely broad, which can bring in various legal complications. We can water down the bail provisions to increase the rate of conviction. We should only be charging those guilty individuals and having procedural safeguards for protection against custodial torture in judicial custody. So this is what we have to keep in mind for this particular article. Now, according to a 2019 PYQ, I have this question for all of you. You can look and you can practice in your free time. In the next one, we'll be looking into the Dam Safety Act, because recently the Supreme Court wrapped the central government for being inactive with this case. So this is highly important for prelims, where we have to look into the various aspects of polity and governance, and also for GS2 when it actually pertains to the matters of federalism. So when we talk about the Dam Safety Act, this act was enacted for the proper amount of surveillance, operation, maintenance of the specified dams in the country. If we look at various dam related flooding incidents, this generally take place due to lack of coordination between various state governments. So this particular authority or particular act is trying to set up 4-tier mechanism, which will be outlining the responsibility of various stakeholders. And in this particular matter, we have the National Committee on Dam Safety, which will be constituted by the central government, and here this will be headed by the chairman, right, of the Central Water Commission. And here, apart from this, we also have the National Dam Safety Authority. The National Dam Safety Authority will be coordinating with the state dam safety authorities, which is also part of this act, and they will be transferring various data and practices to have effective management, because India is having 5,000 around or more than 5,200 large dams. Nearly 450 are under construction. Also, they will be able to investigate any dam failures, any other measures. They will be looking into any unresolved points, and also reduce interstate conflicts. We also have the State Committee on Dam Safety and the State Dam Safety organizations, which are constituted by the individual state governments. So here, what the case is that the Supreme Court expressed shock that In 2021, this act was enacted, but still now the center is yet to constitute a national committee for the dam safety prescribed under the law. And here it is very important for us to look into this data that India is having the third largest dam network in the country. And when we look into the state-wise breakup, in the number of disasters, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh rank the top. And also when we look at the large number of dams, we have, as we have seen, 5,700 number of dams. So this is where the central government must be coming up with a mechanism to resolve this matter. In the next one, we are looking into this present aspect of polar vortex, which is tormenting US and Canada. This is actually one of the two articles which we'll be discussing, which are the effects of climate change and related to extreme weather events. Firstly, we will be discussing about polar vortex. In the second article, we'll be discussing about the wildfires. If you see, both are taking place in US. Polar vortex is generally taking place in the northern section of the US and even areas of, say, close to Florida too. But here wildfires are taking place in around the coast of California. So we have two parts of the country. One part is being enraged by wildfires, one part is being frozen cold. So this is where we have to first looking into the matter of polar vortex. See, in winters, what happened? Due to the extremely cold conditions, we have a counterclockwise formation of winds near the pole, near the North Pole. And in this particular aspect, we find there is also a jet stream that we have, that we know by the name of polar jet stream. The presence of polar jet stream actually separates the warmer regions and the cooler regions above. Also during the winters, we have the low pressure region generating here, and we have the strong band of westerly winds, which is having around the height of 16 kilometers up in the stratosphere. So this is the polar vortex, due to which large parts of Russia and the USA, in North America, Canada, they are having extreme cold regions. So this is on a normal condition. But abnormally, what happens whenever the warmer say air masses move into this particular jet stream, right? It tries to weaken the effect of the jet stream, right? So jet stream is what we have to understand is a narrow band of strong wind which is flowing in the upper levels of our atmosphere. So whenever we have to understand for the efficient circular shape of the jet stream, we need to have a very say high amount of temperature gradients. That means the difference of temperature between the northern and the southern region where of this particular jet stream must be, the temperature difference must be very huge. But due to climate change right now, we understand all sections of the world is warming up. That is why the temperature gradient is coming down. That is why it is leading into this wavy shape of the jet stream. That is why the warm airs are entering this region, right? And sometimes the jet stream, or say this particular polar vortex, is moving southwards. That is even in regions where we did not experience snow, such as Florida, or say very very cold conditions such as in Florida, which is generally a very hot and humid place. So even in those regions we have extremely cold conditions, correct? So this is what is the effect of polar vortex. It is leading to, say, the freezing of roads and the various public facilities there. It is an extreme weather event which has impacted 60 million in 30 US states, right? And we have to understand, is climate change behind this matter? Obviously yes, because when we talk about, say, the overall warming of the earth, so what happens is that whenever we have warming near the tropics region, we have greater amount of solar insolation, which is leading into, say, the water vapor rising in the upper levels of atmosphere. Now this water vapor will be rising in the upper levels of atmosphere, and they will be settling down in the polar regions. And we know that water vapor is actually a greenhouse gas. This will be covering the polar surface, say lower atmosphere, and that will be preventing any heat to escape, correct? And this will be trapping heat within the Arctic region, and this is actually one of the main reasons why ice is actually melting in the particular region. This water vapor is creating cloud cover, creating precipitation, which is leading into the gradual warming of the region. And that is why we see increased amount of heat or say high amount of temperature in this particular places where the temperature gradient is reduced, or the temperature difference between the north and south of the polar jet stream is reduced, due to which it is leaving into this wavy pattern, due to which polar vortex is slipping downwards. Now here I have a question for you all that is related to jet streams from 2021. You let me know the answers in the comments below. Finally, to wrap it up, we'll be discussing the next article, which I have told you just before, that there is a wildfire near Los Angeles, which is here we have understood, which is a neighborhood of prominent Hollywood actor homes. Right? This is a very affluent, say, place in the Californian region, even in the US region, where we see so many big stars, Hollywood stars, have their homes in this region. So this is where their homes are on fire right now. And here we have to talk about how this is happening. Firstly, let us know the geography of the region. We have the Rocky Mountains here, and we are talking about the, say, Sierra Nevada mountains here. In between, we have the Great Basin, which have high pressure system during the winter months here. And here it is also very important for us to know about the geography of this region. So take a moment in the handout, or right now you can pause the video and look into the various geographical aspects, because you never know UPSC which can ask map based question. So what happens due to this high pressure region and the low pressure region on the coasts of California, right? So winds will be naturally be flowing from high pressure to low pressure. So that is what we have to understand, that whenever this cold air which is from the mountains, Sierra Nevada, which is coming from the mountains, it becomes cold, right? It gushes downwards and it's gathering high amount of density. Due to this, the particular winds are becoming much more heated, and due to this particular aspect, due to heat, the winds are also losing their moisture or losing humidity. So that is why we find by the time they reach the coast, they not only become hot, they also become dry. Now these dry winds, they totally suck the moisture from the region. They actually lead to the drying of the local vegetation too. And if we have dry local vegetation such as trees and shrubs, they are immensely prone to fires. So fire related incidents will be taking place if at all these winds are in operation. So these winds are known as Santa Ana if they are over, or they are originating over the South California. These are known as Diablos if they are in the North California region. Now here we have to understand, is our say climate change an important factor here? Definitely, because according to 2021 Nature Scientific Reports, it says that the wildfire season in California has lengthened. That is, generally wildfire is taking place during this particular period of time, but the number of days has increased due to higher amount of, say, temperatures globally, correct? And also most intense wildfires were seen. For example, in 2020, 5 intense wildfires took place in this region due to these particular winds. And also we have understood that we have warmer springs and summers which also contribute to this region. So that is why we understand the climate change aspect is very important when we talk about this extreme weather events. And also we have so many local winds which is important. For example, in Asia, in Europe, in all of the other continents, you can look at this map. Also please note the direction of this particular winds, as we can see, be it Harmattan, be it the various Fohn, Hem, Nord, and this particular Chinook, and this particular thing that we have seen right now. Right, so I have categorized with reference to Europe, Africa, Asia, North America, and all of the various local winds, and also their type, whether they're cold wind or hot local winds, and also their characteristics and their locations too. It is important for exams to actually look into this particular fact. So with this, I thank you all for being a very patient audience. So I hope you enjoyed the discussion. Please attempt the quiz which is following up. Till we meet again, all the best and best of luck. Thank you.